Ramayana, Chapter 15, Behold a Wonder, read by Nirvan Bajaj and Ekveer Bajaj. Ramayana, Chapter 15, Behold a Wonder. Poor Dashrath was in extreme agony, pulled by natural affection on one side and by the moral obligation to fulfill a pledge on the other. He had fondly hoped that Kekai would relent and that somehow the conflict of duties would be resolved. But now he saw that this was not to be. He still had one faint hope. Ram is in no way bound by my promises and pledges. Strong as he is in people's love and in peerless prowess, he may disregard my promise and stand on his own rights. But I cannot conceive his doing so, for my slightest wish has always been sacred to him. Yet, if by some chance he did so, it would save the situation. In this confusion and anguish of his heart, the old king consoled himself with false hopes, forgetting that Ram would never think of disregarding his father's promise, and that filial obedience was a fundamental rule of his life. But the false hopes did not persist long. He felt that his death was near. In this agonizing conflict of duties, death would be a relief and save him from the disruption and sorrows to come. As death drew near, his mind recalled past events. He remembered a great sin committed by him in youth. He felt that he was now reaping what he then sowed. I killed the Rishi's son and brought grief to his aged parents. How could this sin be wiped off except by my suffering the anguish of losing a dear son? Thus, Dashrath resigned himself to his fate as just retribution for the wrong he had once done. He concluded that he had no alternative but to fulfill his word to his cruel wife and left the ordering of things entirely to Kekai. Day dawned. The hour fixed for the coronation was approaching. The procession of Vasishtha and his disciples carrying the golden vessels containing the waters of holy rivers was coming towards the palace. The great street was decorated and was crowded with eager men and women. They rejoiced to see Vasishtha and his disciples march to the palace with the holy waters and the paraphernalia of installation. As they saw the honey, curd, clarified butter, fried rice and sacred grass, flowers, maidens, elephants, horses and chariots, the white umbrella, the bull, the horse and the tiger skin seat moving to the accompaniment of music from many instruments. The people made loud and jubilant acclamations which filled the air. Vasishtha, approaching the palace gate, saw Sumantra and said to him, Pray, go in at once and inform the king that the people are waiting and all preparations are complete. Sumantra approached the king's bedchamber and chanting the morning hymn conveyed Vasishtha's message. O king, he said, arise from slumber to the hymn of your charioteer, as the king of the cause does to Matali's waking songs. May all the gods be gracious unto you. The elders, generals, and chief citizens are waiting for your darshan. The goddess of night has withdrawn. The day's work awaits your ordering. O kings of kings, be pleased to rise. Holy Vasishtha and his men are waiting. At that moment, the king was speechless with agony. But Kekai boldly answered for him and told Sumantra, The king spent the night talking of Ram's coronation and had no sleep. So now he is in a slumber. Go at once and bring Ram. Thus the clever woman sent Sumantra to fetch Ram to convey the king's command. She knew that Dashrath had agreed but had not the strength to do what had to be done. Hence, Kekai resolved that she would herself do what needed to be done. Sumantra went to Ram's palace. Sita and Ram were getting ready for coronation. Then, Sumantra gave Ram the message that the king and queen Kekai wanted his presence. Ram hastened to obey. The unexpected delay and the strange goings and comings roused doubts, but no one dared to talk of them. The men concerned hoped that somehow things would turn out right and went on with their allotted work. The streets were brightly decorated. The great hour was approaching as in the queen's chamber strange and sinister events were developing. Why this long delay? The people wondered. Perhaps the preliminary rites are more elaborate than we had thought. The crowd in the streets grew bigger and bigger and more impatient. Sumantra accompanied Ram to Kaikai's palace, threading the way with difficulty through the throng. Ram entered the queen's apartment. As he stepped over the threshold, he started as if he had set his foot upon a snake, for he saw with awestruck amazement his father lying on the bare floor in anguish. The king evidently had been struck down with some great sorrow. His face was like a parijata blossom wilted in the sun. He touched his father's feet and paid the same filial worship to Kaikai. Dashrath uttered in a low voice the name of Ram and stopped. He could speak no more. He could not look straight into the face of Ram. Ram was perplexed and filled with apprehension at the sight of his father lying there unable to speak in the grip of some great agony. What it could be, Ram could not even guess. He turned to Kaikai and said, "Mother, this is indeed strange. No matter how angry he was, my father would speak sweetly to me. Have I, without knowing, offended him in any matter? Has some sudden sickness struck him down? Has someone spoken rudely to him? Do tell me what has happened. I can bear this suspense no longer."
Ram, your words are worthy of you. What higher duty as a son than helping fulfillment of the father's word his father has given? Now I shall let you know your father's promise to me. When in the battle with Sambara, your father was wounded. I rescued him and revived him. Your father, in gratitude for having been rescued by me, when injured, wounded, gave me 2 boons to be claimed and specified when I choose. I have claimed and specified them now. They are that Bharat should be anointed Yuvraj and that you should be sent away this very day to the Dandak forest to remain in exile for 14 years. You have sworn solemnly to carry out his promise to me, and now it is your duty to prove true to your pledged word.
When she uttered these cruel words, the king writhed in agony, but Ram heard her untroubled. Kaikai beheld a miracle. There was not the slightest sign of disappointment or sorrow on Ram's face. Smiling, the prince said, "Is that all, mother? Surely the king's promise must be fulfilled. My hair shall be twisted, and I shall wear the bark, and I shall go this very day to the forest." Kaikai spoke prophetic words when she said Ram's dutifulness would bring him glory undying. That glory will continue as long as the Himalaya stands and the water of Ganga flow, and as long as the ocean waves beat on the solid earth. Ram said to Kaikai in unperturbed tones, "I am not in the least annoyed. Why would I not be happy to give anything to Bharat? Even if no one asked me, I would cheerfully give him all my all. And now, how can I hold back a moment when my father's command it is? What pains me a little is that father should have entertained any doubt about my willingness. Why should he have hesitated to tell me that he wanted and left it to say it to me? Am I not his son, bound to do his behest? What glory or what joy can I look for except to make good his word? How did I deserve it that my father should avert his face from me and refrain from speaking loving words to me? My grievance, if at all, is that he did not send for me straight and give me his command. I shall go to the forest this very day with no regret. Send swift messengers at once to fetch Bharat home." Like a captive elephant hemmed in all sides, Dashrath lay in anguish. With needless harshness, Kaikai hurried Ram, saying,
"Do not wait for the king to speak and prolong the affair."
At this, Ram said, "Mother, you have not, it seems, known me. I value no pleasure higher than to honor my father's pledge. Let Bharat carry the burden of kingship and look after our aged father. It will indeed give me the greatest joy." Dashrath, silent till now, though listening intently, moaned aloud. Ram touched the feet of his father and Kaikai and hurried out of the chamber. Lakshman had been standing outside. He knew what had happened, and with eyes red with anger, he followed Ram. On the way, Ram saw the vessels holding the consecrated water for the coronation. He walked round them in worship. With calm majesty, he left behind the white umbrella and other royal insignia and advised the crowds to disperse. The prince, in whom desire had been vanquished, went to the house of Kaushalya to give her the news and take her blessings before departing to the forest. Readers should exercise their imagination and build up in their own hearts the passion and sorrows of the great or the persons figuring in this epic. Dashrath's anguish, Ram's cheerful renunciation, and the greedy passion of Kaikai which smothered all noble impulses. These are familiar phases in our daily lives. May everyone that reads this chapter receive by Ram's grace strength to bear the sorrows that have to be faced in life. Stay tuned for chapter 16, Storm and Calm. Please subscribe to this channel, like, share and comment on this video. Thank you
and namaste.